The Matilda effect is a term commonly used in science and academia to refer to situations where a man is erroneously credited with a woman's discovery or creation. Now, obviously, this term applies to many other fields outside of science and academia, board game design being one of them. This is Hi-Ho Cherry-O. It was originally produced by Whitman Publishing in 1960. Now, I already reviewed this game, and in that review, I credited the design to Hermann Wernhard and the art to Katrin Lindley. Now, that's largely true. They were employees of Whitman Publishing at the time and did work on this project. However, it came to light after I did that review that there was a mystery designer who went uncredited for more than 65 years. And this is her story. First off, a little background on this game. Hi-Ho Cherry-O is a math game at its core. It's designed to teach children basic addition and subtraction. They spin this little spinner here, and however many cherries it lands on, that's how many the child gets to put in their little bushel. If it lands on a dog or a bird, they have to put 2 cherries back, and if it lands on this little overturned bushel, they have to put all of their cherries back. The first child to clean out their tree and fill their bushel full of delicious cherries wins the game. Now, interestingly enough, this in my review, I talked about how this game doesn't just teach math, but frustration tolerance, because children are constantly facing setbacks, having to put their cherries back on the tree. And even as an adult, playing this game at times could be frustrating when you just can't get ahead. But I think that that's a very important lesson for young players and helps them develop skills that they'll need for board games down the road and life for that matter. So this is a really fantastic example of a very form follows function game. The simplicity is genius, really. I mean, this is great. And when you learn more about the inventor of this game, you're going to see where this all comes together. So after I produced my original video review, I received an email from a woman named Linda who told me I was wrong. Hermann Wernhard and Katrin Lindley were not the original creators of this game. She told me that her mother, Lorraine Landfried, who is an elementary school teacher from Door County, Wisconsin, actually created this game. And a lot of that story tracks. You see, if you're unfamiliar, Door County, Wisconsin is up on a peninsula in Lake Michigan in the northern part of the state. It's referred to as the Cape Cod of the Midwest and is known for growing Montmorency tart cherries that are prized for baking. So it tracks that if she was an elementary school teacher from that area, she would have spent a lot of time picking cherries, and as Linda told me, she was inspired to create the game after picking cherries with her own children, and she created this fun little learning tool for her 1st through 3rd graders when she was teaching them. Now, she sold the game's design in 1959 to Whitman Publishing for $400 and 12 copies of their version of the game once it was published. Now, in that instance, she was paid pretty fairly. If you factor in inflation, that translates to about $4,300 in today's cash. And deals like that for board games were pretty common at the time. And it also was not uncommon for the original designer to forego any credit for that game. A fine example of this happening is in 1964 when John Spinello sold his prototype and idea for the game that would eventually become Operation to Marvin Glass and Associates for $500 and the promise of a job that he never received. He went unrecognized for his work for decades until he eventually needed an operation of his own and had to turn to crowdfunding for that. It ended up that people discovered his story and he finally got the recognition that he deserved. Now, in this instance, I had produced this review, and Linda, the daughter of Lorraine, the inventor of this game, was a little bit incensed to see that other people were getting credit for her mom's work. And I have to say, the story of Lorraine inventing this game is far more interesting than just a salaried game designer. The fact that there's a personal connection to the cherries, and the fact that it's an educational game designed for the classroom, I mean, it really shows the intent behind this, and that's what I find so great. Now, in this instance, Linda had confided in me that she didn't want to get any kind of extra payment or anything for her mom's work. She just wanted her mom to be recognized. And I think that that's a reasonable request. And that's why I wanted to make this video. And further, I actually produced an article that goes into a little bit more detail about how this all played out, because I gotta say, it was pretty neat having somebody see one of my videos and then be able to present me with all of this information. She even had the designer contract, and I want to point out another correlation with the Matilda effect. Again, the Matilda effect can be unintentional. So one, Hermann Wernhard was originally credited with designing this game because he worked at Whitman Publishing. There was no nefarious intent behind that, but furthermore, take a closer look at this designer's contract. What you're going to notice is in 1959, social norms were such that the head of the household was named on the contract. In this instance, Lorraine Landfried's husband, Erling Landfried. So on the contract, it's signed by Mr. Erling C. Landfried and Mrs. Erling C. Landfried. So even on the designer contract where she sold her idea to Whitman Publishing, Lorraine's name doesn't even appear and she still doesn't get credit. So any historian who hadn't been told very specifically by the daughter of the creator that it was in fact her mom's creation might have erroneously credited Erling Landfried with the creation of this educational game. And I wouldn't say there'd be nefarious intent with that either. That would just be how it would look on paper. So it's another example. And this wasn't done to spite her. I mean, it was common for women to be signing their own contracts at the time, but social norms had not caught up. So it's really fascinating how that can happen. But I think it's really important that we recognize the work that this lovely woman put into this game that has arguably taught millions of children how to count. So I will most definitely be updating Wikipedia and Board Game Geek with this information, but if you know any other repositories of knowledge that I should be hitting up, comment below and let me know. I really appreciate you watching this. Please do help me spread the word and let people know that a wonderful school teacher from Door County, Wisconsin came up with a sweet little game about picking cherries that taught millions of children about simple math. What a great tale. Hey, I want to thank Linda for reaching out to me with all of that information and providing the designer contract so we have concrete proof to make sure that Lorraine gets the credit that she deserves. I want to thank my couch potatoes for making wonderful episodes like this possible. You guys rock. And thank you for watching today. You get to be a part of history. You're one of the first to learn this story. Isn't that awesome? Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time.